Welcome, everyone, to Ice Prep Podcast. We are on to episode 11. We are somehow 11 episodes in. It is once again another very snowy edition, at least where I am. It's kind of a blizzard out there.
Oh,
as Pat looks out the window. Pat
There's
clearly
a window
hasn't
behind
looked
me.
outside at all today. He's just been hard at work.
Yeah, it's hard at work. Damn it. That means I'm going to have to clean off my rink. I wanted to ice more of it tonight.
I was going to ask you, because it's kind of become tradition at this point. So,
Yes.
rink update?
It's looking good. I was able to fix all of the holes, which is great. I was a little worried because, I'm doing MacGyvering. But I did one flood and then it snowed, which makes the ice really bumpy. And then I did a second flood when there was no snow in the forecast whatsoever, and it looks legit. It looks like ice. I know that sounds really weird to say, but
Compared to what it was, I guess.
Yeah, you stand on it and it just feels good. It feels like you're standing on an ice rink. I took a couple. I have a net and a stick, and I have about 12 pucks, and I was doing some shots and stuff like that, and felt good. It felt really good on the ice there, so I'm excited. It's almost done. There's just a corner that's incredibly bumpy because I had to use snow to patch it, and that ice is a little dicey to skate over, but it is about one flood away from being ready for use.
That is awesome. I don't have ice envy at all because I hear you talk about this all the time. My next door neighbors beside me, they have an outdoor rink that's probably close to the size of maybe one end of the ice. Pretty big, and their one son and daughter are out there all the time on it. So a little bit of ice envy going on here, but it's a very fun thing to look out and see somebody playing hockey in their backyard, though.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm pretty sure my neighbors hate me. Long before this, but I'm pretty sure they hate me because the slap shot sound, you can hear it echo. You can hear it ring around the entire neighborhood when I do a slap shot. So I'm positive that my neighbors are just like, okay, who is this kid? What is he doing? And
meanwhile, it's Pat.
Yeah. And one thing that popped to mind when we live in a split house, so there's a front unit and your rear unit. So when the front unit neighbor walked to the back, she said, what are you going to do when that thaws? And that is something I didn't think of. And the answer to that is, I have no idea. The whole yard is going to be a soup.
Piece of advice, if you've got a longer hose, because it'll all stay in there pending your holes in your thing, and you just siphon it out down the driveway.
The holes, their placement is really, really poor. So no hose can save what will happen in the spring. So that'll be the news that I'll just have a little pool backyard. So
Welcome to Pat's Swamp.
Yep. So sorry, landlord. That's gonna be a mess, and I apologize.
But that's future Pat problems, right? So
yeah, exactly. That's what, maybe 8 weeks away. Whoops.
Yeah, it's still plenty of time to enjoy it. So for now, not something to really worry about, right?
Exactly. I don't. It's getting me through the days. It's keeping me busy, and it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to have a couple people over. I know you got young kids. It'd be nice to, maybe have one of them hop on skates for maybe not the first time, but could be the first time, and just kind of walk them around this little tiny private rink rather than having to go to a big one and potential of people bumping into you and stuff.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. He's just getting to the point of being able to walk in the snow, especially right now because it's up past his knees in the backyard.
Well,
he's not
yeah.
tall by any means, and there's not that much snow, but he is 20 months, so that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I don't expect him to be a whiz on the skates, but at the same time, if you wanted to be let's see how this works. That's we have a couple friends that we've already floated the idea out to, and I think a few of them are going to take advantage of it. We'll have a little bonfire and some hot chocolate with potentially more than just hot chocolate in it.
Well, I know it's short notice on you, but you may want to invite them for Saturday, considering that's technically Hockey Day in Canada.
Oh, Oh yeah, shoot. But yeah, so anyways, hockey.
Moving. I have nothing new to add about what's been going on with me, so we'll go right
Yeah,
into it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Don't worry about Brian. Only about me.
Pat's living the more interesting life right now. Where I want to start, we're gonna start. We do have some fun things planned later on in the show, and I'm actually really excited to see Pat's reaction to one of them. But I wanted to start in Buffalo, and probably not for the reason that a lot of people would think, unless they saw what happened in the recent Buffalo-Ottawa game. Do you know where I'm going with this one, Pat?
Oh yeah, no, this one, it's very, very obvious, and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah, so the goalie for Buffalo, Aaron Dell, he's actually got a bit of a history for this. He did it to Mark Stone when Mark Stone, obviously with Vegas, back when he was with San Jose. They were showing the highlights of it. It's kind of a common thing. He likes to get out of the net, and when he gets out of the net, he goes to check players or goes to go after them. And rule of thumb is when the goalie's out of the net, you can't really touch them, and you don't expect it. And the latest one in this is Drake Batharson, who has been an absolute breakout star for the Senators. Dell went out, clipped him. Batharson is now set to be out for at least 2 months.
Yeah, so the part that kind of bothers me too is it wasn't even that he went that far out. Previously, he's gone decently far out from his net, like, past the face-off dot, for instance. But this time, he kind of popped out a little bit from his net and then hit him. While he was going towards the boards. So he knew that the contact that he was going to be doing was disruptive. And Zoe must be home. I'll hit
Not
pause.
bad. That's
on
the
there.
first. That's the first time. Nah, I keep it going. That's the first time we've had. I think Lincoln right when you're in the middle of a rant. So
that's true. Yeah, it's not common. But yeah, so he knew that when he stepped out of the net, that skater was not planning to have any sort of contact with a goaltender. Like, that's just not something that happens. Like, that's not supposed to happen because goalies are meant to be protected. So him doing that, it was 100% a cheap shot, and he only got a 3-game suspension. So here's this kid who's having a breakout season, earning that money, getting that bill, and he's out now for 2 months.
not only that, he was the Ottawa Senators all-star representative, which now means Brady Tkachuk is going instead, which for the NHL is probably a bigger draw than Drake Batharson, but Batharson is right now the best player on that team. And though there's a lot of people that are Buffalo fans that would actually argue, had you given him a 0-game suspension, that would have actually hurt our team more, because that means he'd have to play.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the running joke, but now they've got to dig deeper. But the 3 games, that just seems like such a small thing, and this question has come up all over the place now. Of okay, so if this is going to be the case, if goalies are going to be hitting players, are they no longer off limits? Should they no longer be off limits? I think if they're making the risk, if they're running out there, they're out of their crease, they've opened up the door for some form of physicality. And if Dell wants to hit people, well, people should be able to hit him back.
I think the only exception to that is when they're going to play the puck behind the net, because then you would run into big issues that way. But then you'd also be like, well, he hit the players, he was going around to the back of the net. If the goalie is going out to play the puck and it's not in that trapezoid, they should be fair game to get hit if they're going to become part of the play. I agree with that entirely.
Yeah, this kid had this opportunity, things that, as much as the All-Star game is kind of a dud, it's still really cool the fact that he got in there based off of the play that he was doing. He earned his spot, sorta. He earned his spot on that roster, and that was taken away from him. And it's really sad. I really hope that he's able to recover quickly. I mean, obviously he's gonna miss it, and he might even not be able to attend it with his injury. There might be surgery or, just overall rest involved. So that in itself also sucks. So my thoughts are with him. I'm really hopeful that he is able to bounce back better and quick and doesn't get past that 2-month point. I hope he can come back quickly. Now, another person, though, that might be missing the All-Star game, because it's not far away. Like, that's like a week away.
Yeah, it'll be here sooner than you think, because games finish up on February 2nd. Then there's the Thursday, Friday off, the Saturday, Sunday for All-Star, and then what was the Olympic break is now the every team plays as many games as possible break.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got, roughly about, like, when this launches, not when this records, because we're recording on Thursday, but when this launches, it'll be borderline about a week away. I'm curious if Nathan MacKinnon's going to be there. Captain Nate.
Okay, you're going there right away. Actually, before, just to interrupt that, we were talking about this before the show, looking like Evander Kane was going to sign with the Oilers. Yep. Looks like that is officially confirmed. So he gets an approximate $2.1 million cap hit, a full no-move clause. Ew. So looks like Evander Kane going to the Edmonton Oilers. We've said our piece about that, or even if we didn't, I don't care enough to go into it more, so I think we jump back to the Avalanche.
Yeah, my one last piece is I don't want them to be must-watch games. I don't think that he deserves another chance after what he's done in his personal. Obviously, that's a pretty hard stance, but I have a feeling that people are not going to be happy to see him in the league. And if there's a San Jose or Winnipeg game or Buffalo game against Edmonton, they might be must-watch to see what they do to him. But yes, let's shimmy back to Nate and talk about what happened last night, Wednesday night. There was a hit that Taylor Hall laid on Nathan MacKinnon, and at first glance, when you see it at full speed, absolutely that looked like a very dangerous hit.
Oh, it looked like Taylor Hall was trying to end his career on when you don't see everything else that's happening. I would agree on that.
Yeah, like when I first saw it, there was a lot of colorful words that I was using, and then I watched the replay and I went, oh, okay, that was a pure fluke. And boy, does that fluke hurt. So more or less what happened is Taylor Hall, he went in for the hit. He hit him about shoulder on shoulder, but MacKinnon had lifted his stick up to try and almost like squeeze past him, it looks like. And in doing so, when Taylor Hall hit, his stick went up and hit himself right in the nose with a lot of force. There was a lot of blood on the ice. His nose is absolutely broken. His head whipped back pretty hard too, and that's the part I'm a bit concerned about. You never want to see concussions in the game, and I'm a bit worried that maybe MacKinnon might be. There hasn't been an update as of recording this. So that's another person right now. I hope everything is okay. As weird as it sounds, I hope it's just a broken nose, and I'm hopeful that he's able to make a really speedy recovery, because you never want to see any of the All-Stars. Like, I'm not a big fan of Sidney Crosby, but I never want to see him out of the game. He's so important to have in the game. So yeah, it's the same with him. Even though he's on my team, he's so important for the game, and I hope for a speedy recovery for it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the picture and you're a little squeamish, I wouldn't recommend going to look at it. If his nose was a lowercase L before, it now looks like a backwards C. There's a little bit of a shape change there. And I know when it first happened, you messaged me thinking that it was vicious, and then you see it again, and it wasn't even like it was a late hit. It was just one of those weird, fluky circumstances that it happens. You see that play 3 or 4 times a night. It just so happened the stick got involved, and it's unfortunate, and it goes to show that go ahead.
I was going to say, it also brought to light a really weird and kind of backwards rule for the refs. The refs actually got it right technically. So they at first they had assessed Taylor Hall a 5-minute major for the hit. because at full speed, absolutely it looked like that. And when a penalty is assessed at a 5-minute major mark, it can be reviewed, which they did because they wanted to make sure that they had gotten it right, and if they needed to even kick him out, because it looked very scary. When looking at it, obviously they realized, wait a minute, no, this was just a fluke. But the rulebook is so stupid that they weren't allowed to undo the penalty, but instead just knock it down to a lesser penalty. So they were like, well, he was kind of away from the puck. And like, sure, all right, it was questionable if it was an interference hit or not, but they couldn't just say, no, he didn't do anything wrong, it was an accident. Instead, all they could do is just say, well, sorry, but you have to have a penalty. And this is coming from an Avalanche fan. I'm saying that they did not deserve a power play there in any way, shape,
and there was, mind you, there was a very soft makeup call after, which is something that I hate in the NHL. Yeah. It's honestly one of the worst. Well, they gotta, we shouldn't have called that one, so now we got to give one back to the other team. That
it's not
to me
game
is
management. It should never be game management.
And hey, if you go towards the end of the game, the Avs do the last-minute heroics comeback. Cale Makar does the overtime winner thing again, where he leads the league since he's joined in game-winning goals.
Yeah.
Which, that's a defenseman, folks. It's not like it's including forwards. The top two in the league are defensemen.
Yeah.
Which is the craziest thing. So, and because of that, the Avs are now, 17 home games in a row?
17 goals for Cale Makar and 17 home game wins in a row. And I will say that they haven't lost a game in January. And I think that many of the Avs fans will also agree, because that Nashville one is garbage. And they didn't lose that. The refs stole it.
We talked about that one. I think Pat's still a little... Hey, I can't blame you, but...
I'm going to be mad until next year.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's not like that 1 point is going to be the difference between you making the playoffs and not, because you're pretty much locked in that the Avs will be making the playoffs. They are officially the hottest team in the NHL.
Absolutely.
There's maybe a team that you could argue is close in Florida, but they've had some losses come their way recently against some not so strong teams, when the Avs are just like, no, we're just going to keep on winning. Best January ever for them.
Yeah.
And they tied for the most points in the league right now.
Here's the game that I wanted to play with you, because it actually ties in really well with what we're talking about here. So let me pull up my notes. You're going to hear a lot of clickety-clacking on my keyboards here. And by keyboards, I mean my one mouse click. So... I went through and I looked at the last 25 game played for all of the teams. So last 25 games. And I did the ranking off of who is the easiest, or division. So what's the easiest division based off of who were in the bottom 10, which teams were in the bottom 10, and which was the hardest division, which is the division with the most teams in the top 10. You follow? Yes? No?
Yes, I think I got it.
Okay, so top 10 teams, whichever division has the most of those. What is the hardest division right now?
I want to say the Atlantic.
The Atlantic division.
Because you look, you've got Florida up there, you've got Tampa, Toronto, Boston. It's a pretty strong Detroit. It's been pretty good, though they've kind of slid a little bit lately.
So after the last 25 games.
25. If we did last 10, I think I've got it.
Oh yeah, 10 and 25 are different, but it's just 10 is a small sample size. 25, you're extending it a bit more, and you're seeing a bit more of a picture of what's a difficult team to play against.
I'm still going to stick with the Atlantic, just because of how strong the top three are, and then Boston still has game in hand. So
okay, so in the last 25 games played, last place for hardest difficulty with 0 teams. 0 teams in the top 10. That's the Pacific. There are no teams in the top 10 in points, which is hilarious.
I would have guessed the Pacific, or potentially the Metro, since the bottom half of the Metro is just a tire fire right now. But that would be another one last 10.
Metro is in second place, tied with Atlantic because Pacific has, or sorry, no, Central. Central has 4 teams in the top 10 in points. You have, I've already not written it down, but you've got teams like
Colorado, Nashville, St. Louis, Minnesota.
Yeah, so you've got those 4. Thank you. I made notes, but not like, I made 80% of the notes. So now the real question is, what's the bottom 10? What is the easiest?
The easiest division?
Easiest division based off of points.
To me, it's such a battle between the Metro and the Pacific. But if we go to 25 games, I think it has to be the Pacific, even though you've got kind of Edmonton's been on a slide. Vancouver was on a slide. They've kind of come back a little bit. Calgary kind of slid a little bit. Seattle. So I'll stick with the Pacific, I guess.
Shockingly, no.
Wow.
I know, right? Central and Pacific are both tied technically for, I guess, first, with 2 teams in the bottom 10. And Atlantic and Metro both have 3.
Oh, I guess there's, I forgot about Buffalo, Ottawa, and Montreal, and then the Devils and the Flyers, who have lost, 12 in a row now?
Mm-hmm. Now, if this was the North Division, North
That's really pulling at hairs here.
Oh, no, trust me, it is juicy. How many? I'm going to count it right now. Oh, what's that? Oh, there are 1, 2, 3, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah.
This is riveting podcasting.
Oh, yeah. Would you like me to hear me to count to 20 and apparently try and speak English? Anyways, there are 4 Canadian teams in the bottom 10 for the last 25 games.
You look right now, there's technically 2 Canadian teams in the playoffs because Calgary's managed to get themselves into Wild Card 2, and that's only because of points percentage. For a while there, it was just the Leafs, and this was kind of supposed to be the Pacific this year was supposed to be the Canada Thunderdome, and then whoever else will join in, and it is not, because Anaheim's scary. LA is a few years ahead of where everybody thought they were going to be.
San Jose over-indexed out of the gate, and then they got hit with COVID and injuries, but man, they were in a flurry out of the gate.
Yeah, who would have thought that the Pacific is probably the most entertaining division just to look at as a whole right now, because there's such a swing from teams 4 through 7.
Yeah. No, the Pacific is so funny because I remember so many analysts said it was a toss-up between Calgary and Edmonton for who was going to go in. And I know Vegas is in there too, which that's the reason it stuck out to me, because I saw at least 10 people putting them in the top, the top of their division, and no, I laughed at it. I was like, "There's no way that these teams can do that." And then they came out really hot, and then they forgot how to play hockey.
The one thing that Edmonton is lucky for is they did start so hot. They still have a chance, but We'll have to wait and see what happens. Luckily for your Avs, I think you've built such a lead that you could play. If the Avs play 500 hockey from here on out, they're pretty much guaranteed to win the Western Division.
I mean, that's the hope. It'd be nice, but at the same time,
you're at the literal halfway point of your season right now. If you were to mimic this again, you would end up being 60, 18, and 6. That is disgusting.
Yeah.
Sorry, 60, 16, and 6. So even worse with a measly 126 points.
I mean, they can do better than that. No.
Well, after that slow start that they had, and I mean, it's like the reverse of the Devils, who started well, and now they are not doing well at all. But it's just one of those unfortunate, every team gets injured, and it just so happens for the Devils that the injury bug was really hard focused around the goaltending situation. Like Mackenzie Blackwood, who's our goaltending star, there's obviously he didn't want to get vaccinated before the season, so that brought up some issues. Then he eventually did. But then he had heel surgery in the offseason, and there's been issues because of that. He's back on the IR. Spend all that money to sign Jonathan Bernier. Hey, this looks great. He's coming in. He's going to and he's out for the season. And there's been more than a few times that we've played like the 5th or 6th string goalie. Like right now, our goaltending tandem, the only NHL games that they have are this year. And it is not looked the best for us. But it's, you and I talk about this all the time for me because I will watch Devils games when I know they're going to be exciting. And lately, unfortunately, that hasn't been the case because even the Stars are looking a little worse for wear, except for Jesper Bratt.
Yeah, and it's disappointing. I know that you sent me something you found on Reddit, and it was the New Jersey Devils, the Painometer, and it was at, was it 11 or 12? I think it was 12.
Well, when it was originally made, it obviously only went up to 10, but it's at 11 right now. There is a 12 on there. Yeah, the season started off great, and then it all went downhill a little bit with the Jack Hughes injury. But, I mean, as I said, injuries happen. The Avs have spent, 98% of their season without their full roster because somebody keeps getting injured. So it happens. You got to play around it. It's just not one of those years for the Devils, which is unfortunate. But who knows? Maybe the addition of the second Hughes brother next year will bring a little bit more to the team.
I'm really hopeful. Like the league is better when the division isn't so divided. I know that sounds so ridiculous to say, but like with it being you've got such strong teams and such weak teams. You've got Carolina and the Rangers and Pittsburgh and Washington on one hand, and then you have Columbus, New Jersey, the Islanders and Philly on the other. And I mean, some of them are, they're doing okay, but they're playing hopefully 500 hockey. Like that's what they're shooting for, and that makes it so much less passion there. Like the rivalries don't feel as rivalry like you want to have your divisions close. You want like really hard fought games, and there hasn't been as many like really close games unless you're a Leafs fan, but there hasn't been really many like games that end up being close or whatever. They've all been pretty blowouty lately. Like the number, like Florida, how are you putting up numbers like that?
You mean with their plus 50 goal differential that they're tied with Colorado for right now? They have 175 goals, most in the league. Second is Colorado at 171, and then you got to keep scrolling down. 149 Tampa for third. So it's just a shooting gallery for some teams this year, and the Metro is the Metro, mind you. A few weeks ago when we were doing these, Pittsburgh wasn't even in the wild card. They're now second in the Metro because they can't stop winning. So until Ovi and Crosby are out of the league, the Devils might just be victims of having two generational talents in the same division as them.
Yeah, and like you look at, again, I'm going back to the not top 25, but the last 25 games played, and Colorado, that they're leading the list with 42. Pittsburgh is at 41. So, yeah, they're on a tear, and not enough people are talking about Colorado, in my opinion. But as a homer, obviously, I'm going to be like, "How dare you not talk about my team?" But yeah, it's incredible, and the only thing they like to talk about is when Nathan McKinnon's face explodes. Like, come on. Or Cale Makar scores a goal, which, okay, fine. But, like, I don't know. They're trying to build this narrative of this battle between Adam Fox and Cale Makar, but at this point, they're so far spread apart on when it comes to the Norris race. Like, I feel like him and Hedman are closer than Makar and Fox are.
Yeah, and even you got to put Yossi in that conversation right now as well, because he's one back of Hedman. Hedman's two back of Fox. The only thing going for Makar in all of this, I think, has to do with the fact that he is just dominating in the goal category. And it's, I think the conversation of which is better, Makar or Quinn Hughes, that is long since sailed. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think anybody would argue that one. Unless it could be an off year for Quinn Hughes. You never know, because they skate so similar in how they play, and then obviously a little bit of a difference between Vancouver and Colorado this year.
Just a smidge, but like the Norris Trophy midway mark votes kind of came out just a couple days ago, and Cale Makar was at the top with 71, then Victor Hedman at 59, so that's a massive jump. Followed by Roman Josi at 44 votes, Adam Fox with 34, and then the others receiving 6+ votes. Aaron Ekblad had 20, and Chris Letang had 6. So Quinn Hughes isn't even in the conversation. Chris Letang, though, that's criminally low. I feel he should be above Adam Fox. Adam Fox is doing really well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say he's not skilled. I think he's a very skilled hockey player. I think he's a fantastic defenseman. But Chris Letang has, found the fountain of youth for this year. He's having that year that somehow, once you hit past your 30s, you have that 1 year that's that, oh, yes, I can still play hockey. And then the next year, your knees explode.
The
And
Mark
that's what's going to
Giordano
happen.
year, essentially.
Exactly. Like, that's the contract. Oh, you still got 2 to 3 more years in you. Absolutely. We're going to pay you more. And then they're like, haha, retirement. It's the retirement fun year.
Well, and it's one of those things, too. You look at Letang, it could be a situation like last year for the Vezina, whereas if Letang has a strong enough season where he's in the talk, he'll get it because he has not won the Norris yet. It's like giving it to Flower. Should have won one a long time ago. I still am of the mindset that he got it last year as you should have had this one before. Letang, if it's close at the end, don't be surprised if the points sit within about 10 between the top 3 and Letang's one of them, that he comes out on top. I'm warning you now.
I know. I don't see Flower and Letang at the same tier. I really don't. Like, Fleury has been outstanding year after year. He really, like, regardless of the situation that he's put in, regardless of anything, he puts up numbers that are fantastic. And I know Chris Letang is a very good defenseman, but he hasn't been as consistent. And that's the thing.
So if we go back to 2008, so his rookie year is 2006, 2007, plays a few games, gets sent down. Plays a bit more consistently as of 2007 to 2008. His lowest point season is 17 that first year. He has a 27 in there, a 22, and the rest are like 35 plus. He is a consistent 40-point-plus defenseman. There's a lot of consistency in that. He's had a 67-point year, a 50, a 56. So the numbers are there. He has 619
he's
points.
A defenseman.
He has 619 points in 901 games. That is amazing for a defenseman.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, generally Norris votes it's all about, the points that are going up. But that's the part that does frustrate me, because I feel that, like, Cale Makar, Victor Hedman, and Roman Josi are some of the best defensive defensemen as well. They can, like, if there is a fast break, they can shut it down. They don't make as many mistakes, whereas I find Chris Letang does. And, like, in the games that I've seen him, like, I've seen more of his mess-ups in, like, the dang-its, if you will, or just in general, like a bad pass, an errant pass, or turnovers, whatever it may be, like ones that are really detrimental. I've seen his name pop up more than a lot of the others.
One less season in the NHL than Victor Hedman, about 60 more games, and he has almost 100 points on him.
Even still, I don't think that Victor Hedman came in as this, you're going to be a point per game defensive player. It's about what you can do on the offense, but also what you can do on the defense. Like, you can't be voting for best defenseman and be like, but he's got the most points.
That's usually how it does go, though, if we're being honest. It's very rare that it feels like the person without the most points is the one that gets it. We're arguing apples and apples here, but looking at oranges for some reason.
Well, no, I think you're trying to defend Letang a bit for, that he would deserve it. I don't think he would deserve it.
No, I didn't say he deserves it. I said he's going to get the Marc-Andre Fleury treatment if he is near the top at the end of the year. Just watch.
I don't think that if they do that, that is a slap in the face in the trophy in general. That would be, in my opinion, just unless he is putting up 3 points a night and like he himself is the reason that they will their way back in. I can't see it. I can't see them. It's an integrity issue at that point. Like, why would they cast a vote for Chris Letang just because he's been in the league for so long? Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Brian Boyle's been there. Is he going to win the Hart Trophy? Why doesn't he get the Hart Trophy? Didn't you see that one goal he did? Go for it, Boyle. You win. No. You vote on who's the best defenseman. And if he does win that, then they've got to just blow up this entire voting system and try again. That's garbage. That's absolute garbage. If he's not the best defensive defenseman that also puts up points, there is no point of even awarding that trophy at that point because it's a lie. It's a fan favorite at that point. Or
if it's defensive defenseman with points, then it should be Devon Taves winning it every year, or it should be Chris Tanev. It should be every year then for the last 6 years. It should have been Chris Tanev. When Giordano won it, he didn't win it because he was great defensively. He was terrible defensively, but he could put the puck in the net or pass it to somebody who could. So they like to give it to the guy who's can get the points. Hey, I've got Giordano recently as a proven commodity. I've got Marc-Andre Fleury last year as a proven commodity. If I'm telling you now, Chris Letang will win the trophy this year if he is top 3 in points by the end of the season.
I will break so many things. I will throw so many pictures around my house if that's the case. I will have a fury like no other. The only reason Cale Makar will not win this award this year is if he gets injured. That is my whole heart belief, and it shouldn't go to anybody else except for Cale Makar, Victor Hedman, and Roman Josi this year, period. Unless something happens in the second half. That is the way that I look at it. Ekblad is the only other person that is a maybe because he's also having a fantastic year. I don't think Letang is... He's doing a great job. I feel he deserves more than 6 points, but I don't feel he should be in the top 3. Top 4, maybe.
We'll see what happens. I'm not.
I got angrier about this than I thought I did. I didn't know I was gonna get so against Chris Letang. Don't get me wrong, he's great. I would love to have him on our team, but he doesn't deserve that trophy.
Who do I honestly think will win it this year? Cale Makar. What do I think the writers will vote is Chris Letang. I'm going based off of them. There's a lot of old school hockey minds that are allowed to do this vote. They're going to look and go, oh, he doesn't have the trophy. He doesn't have the Norris. If he doesn't get the Norris, he probably won't go into the Hall of Fame. There's going to be mindsets like that.
Honestly,
Marc-Andre Fleury didn't deserve it last year.
No, he didn't. And neither did Connor Hellebuyck the year before. It should have been Vasilevsky the whole time because he was the better goaltender. But that being said, if the hockey writers do write him in, I'm going to find out where every single one of them that vote him in as the person. I'm finding out where they live. And you know what I'm going to drop off? The scariest thing they could all imagine. And that's just a handful of change because they're so afraid of change they don't want to have to deal with it. I'll put it on their front step and they'll never leave their house again. Come on. That's garbage.
You really went deep for that one. I can't believe I got this much of a rise out of you bringing up Chris Letang of all. Are you still mad that the season that I had him on my fantasy team, he kept destroying everybody in points as a defenseman?
I didn't even know that happened. Because I destroyed you in that league. Look at that. I can see the sore spot on your face, me talking about that.
It's fine. We both lost last year.
Oh yeah,
we 2 years ago, whenever that one was. Can we go away from that for a little while here?
I guess, yeah.
I was going to go to this a little bit earlier, but then we apparently got really heated talking about Chris Letang and Cale Makar. There was 2 big hirings in Vancouver within the last week. One, they have a new assistant general manager. That is Emily Castonguay. That is the first female assistant general manager that Vancouver has ever had. She was a player agent. And they also have a new general manager in Patrick Alvin. He is officially the first Swedish general manager of an NHL team. And when you and I were talking about this earlier on in the week, it's nice to see a team literally hire like the best person available instead of going with the same old. Oh, this person doesn't have a job in the NHL right now. They've been here for a while. Let's just bring them in. They did the thing that everybody yells at teams to do in the draft. Pick the best available player. And Vancouver has picked like the best available people to try and move forward in a new direction with this team.
Yeah, like it's baffling to me that they're just like, this guy, he played in the league for 22 years. He took 72 pucks to the face. He's had 11 concussions. And, he's never read a book in his life. But congratulations, so-and-so, on being the new general manager of this team. Like, this person has very little business experience. Or you can hire a person that has, like, a bachelor's degree in probably economics and finance or some kind of data analytics. Like, everyone craps on Dubas, but it's just like the guy has like a lot of background when it comes to analytics and understanding them.
And business management, which is a big part of a general. People forget that general manager is not just the on ice. They do a lot of off ice things as well. And this is probably one of those hirings by the Aquilinis, if I remember correctly, for Vancouver. They brought in two people in particular, and surprise! What nationality are the Sedins again, Pat?
Oh, well, they're Swedish.
Oh, so the first ever Swedish general manager coming in. The Sedins are a big part of the organization behind the scenes. You think there's not going to be a lot of teaching them and moving forward in the future? I bet you that was a big reason why Patrick Alvin was the number one person and the one who was hired.
Yeah, no, and it makes complete sense. I don't know. It's always bothered me seeing, like, don't get me wrong, like, obviously people need to make money and they got to work and everything like that. And there is a lot of experience in playing hockey and a lot of things that go into it that I'll never know, that can be really helpful in the back office. Absolutely. I'm not trying to discount that. But what I am saying is that you wouldn't hire a guy that's had that many concussions and pucks to the face and all he did was play hockey to run a Fortune 500 company with no experience whatsoever. Would you? Would you think, you know what? Tesla needs this guy. You know, he can barely write his name, but he should be the CEO.
And sometimes former players work out. You've got Sakic, obviously, who's a big one. Shanahan, who worked for the NHL and is now the president of whatever for the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a lot of instances where former players go back and do things, and it is bad. Look at Wayne Gretzky as a coach in Arizona. That was terrible. Mind you, compared to how they're playing now, that is probably like one of the best runs that they've ever had. Everybody loves Patrick Waugh. He was entertaining for one season, but when he left, he screwed the Avs over. The way that he was playing that team kind of wasn't very good. So it is nice to see the best available people. You don't always need hockey people to run hockey teams. Hell, look at the person who was in charge of the entire NHL. His previous experience was a lawyer. He didn't care about hockey.
That's a bad example.
I know that's a very bad. Once I started, I was like,
no.
But sometimes, especially in sports, you look even in other leagues, they are not necessarily hiring people that were former players to do positions. They're going, well, we have to worry about the business side as well. Let's bring in somebody who's an Ivy League person that's got the law degree, that's got all this and that. You can teach them the sports side of things. It's a lot tougher to teach them the business management, the people management, and all of that. And as I said, it's nice to see something different for once. Yeah. It is not the cookie cutter NHL. It's something different.
Yes, I agree. And this is my crappy segue. You know, if there was an award for crappy segues, I would at least be getting, 34 votes for that, putting me in fourth place. Anyways,
I'm still trying to
crappy
figure out where
segues.
you're going with this one.
When it comes to I've already forgotten where I was going with this. Anyways, they announced the retro
Chris
jerseys
Letang.
are coming back. Yeah. Speaking of Chris Letang and being retro, the retro jerseys. So I don't know if you remember last year, there was a reverse retro jersey for every single team, all 31 teams.
Some
in
were
the
so
league.
good. Some were so bad.
Majority of them, and I think we talked about it last week.
We kind of touched on it, but not really.
Yeah. So majority of them were pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. Like even the ones at first, I was like, I don't like these. They grew on me, and I was like, I actually like the Dallas Stars one. I hated so much. But for some reason, whenever I play NHL 22, it always comes on, and that like when I'm playing against them, I always make sure to switch it into the white retro reverso. So, they've announced that there's going to be V2s coming next year. That
Well,
means
not officially announced. It's been
Not
sources
officially.
leaking, saying from a company that does a lot of jersey stuff, which is it's nice to see because we went off last week about the jerseys in the NHL, mind you, for a whole different reason. But if there's going to be some new jerseys coming, some of these reverse retros, I know the one that was sources indicate the leak for the Avalanche is going to be the original New Jersey Devils team, which makes sense because it was the Colorado Rockies, and no, not the baseball team. There was a Colorado Rockies NHL team, so it sounds like that's going to be that one, which then makes me wonder, what are the New Jersey Devils going to do?
I don't know. All I know is that I have a demand list. I am demanding that Toronto do something that isn't Toronto. Like
Yeah,
I
you've
mentioned
either got
last
blue or white,
week.
or you go the St. Pat's. Like, let the Leafs go a straight black jersey with like the logo in like silver or something like that. Why not just? When was could that would be as weird as I could think? Or if they were like, let's do a neon color for the Leafs, which would never happen. But
No. But like my demand is that the Leafs have something that's at least interesting, because they branched out with them and they did gray instead of white with the reverse retros V1. I was going to say I desperately want the Fishermen.
oh, from the Islanders.
Oh my god.
Well, this just got me thinking, talking about the Leafs, because I'm looking at the wall behind you. So it'd be nice, maybe they decided to go with, I don't know, maybe the Robin Egg Blue Jays color scheme, or they went with the Raptors City Edition, which is black and gold. Just something a little different for once, instead of blue and white, and sometimes green if it's for the St. Pat's.
Yeah, no, they've got to change it up. And I think another one that I'm really excited, that I'm demanding, is the Seals. It has to be the Seals.
Oh, for Seattle?
For Seattle. There's no way it can't be. Like, what else are they going to do? So the Seals are a must. I desperately want the oil drop for Edmonton. The dark blue oil drop.
Yeah, it sounds like the one for Buffalo is the head's coming back, just slightly modified.
Yes.
The slug head, which is probably one of the most beloved by some and hated by other logo in the league.
It's the best one. I love it. I love it.
So
You're wrong if you don't.
Pat and I we're just a little bit obsessed with jerseys, as you can tell. And as long as Nashville doesn't go with their Winter Classic Smashville jerseys, I think they'll do fine this time around. I hope we see at least one team go off of the like 6 colors that only exist in the NHL. How nice would it be to see something different?
That's why I really liked the Arizona one last year, because it was purple.
Yes.
The whole thing was purple. That was so unique. And I know that like if Seattle does go forward with the Seals, if that's what they actually do, and if they even do the reverse retros version 2, but if they go forward with the Seals, they're kind of handcuffed with the colors. They have to go with that weird, disgusting, tealy, greeny, bluey, ugly color. But I'm fine with that. Go for it. Lean into it. Embrace the gross, and just have fun with these things and like wear them more. And I mean, as much as I really like the Rockies for Colorado, like the logo, if you look at it, they kind of already have that one. They already do. The blue.
Yeah. So it's you and talking. You want the foot because you had the Nordiques last year. So who knows what's going to happen? We'll have to wait and see. Maybe all these sources are just completely wrong, and they're like, no, this got leaked. We're not going to do it. I just hope there's some good-looking ones this year. There was a few last year that were really good, and there was a few that it was like, don't even go back to the drawing board. Fire the person who was in charge of this, and try again later, and hopefully they get it right this time.
Yeah, the Islanders, they need a redemption story. That was like, you know what? If you're an Islanders fan, cool, go for it. You know, I'm not going to judge you for your team unless you're a fan of Boston, let's say a random team. So if you're a fan of Boston, you know, but the New York Islanders, you can't support that. If you're an Islanders fan, you can't say, yeah, that was a good call. That was a travesty when you compare it to every other jersey out there. If you go on to NHL 22 and you look through the New York Islanders jerseys and you go to the Retro Reverso, I call it the Reverso. I know it's not Reverso, but that's what I call it because O's. But if you go to the Reversos and then you go to the current one, it's like a fraction of a shade darker. That's it. That's really the only difference. And that is awful. Whoever made that call, it's like they forgot about New York. They were like, "Oh, crap. Just darken it a bit, okay? We were supposed to be done. I'm supposed to have these by 5. It's 4:58.
Just lower the shader a tiny bit and done.
Is that's different enough? Okay, let's wrap it. I think that looks good. Every other team looks amazing, and you know, let's move forward. Is everyone good? Everyone's good?
Well,
okay.
I think what we'll have to do is when these officially come out, we'll have to go over these.
Oh, we'll have to rank them.
We'll have to rank them. We'll have to do everything for that. Before we get to games of the week, because I'm looking at the time here, we'll get this wrapped up.
Yep.
This, I can't take credit for this one. I saw it on Reddit. I kind of teased it towards Pat to see if he knew what I was talking about. He had absolutely no idea. If you watch hockey through cable, you have seen this commercial. So I sent Pat a link. It's a 30-second Tim Hortons commercial. I just want him to literally watch the last few seconds of it. So you get that started up, Pat, and okay. I just I'll kind of keep talking as you go through. Just I want you to look and see if you notice something weird, and then I'll get you to. Then we'll go over it a little bit. So let me know when you've started it. His face is looking kind of weird. So it's the Tim Hortons Team Canada trading card commercial.
And I saw that like 400 times when I've been watching the games. Why I always thought his face looked really weird. What the hell?
So there's a theory going around right now in this Tim Hortons commercial that they deep faked Nathan MacKinnon, because if you watch him when he sits down in the vehicle with Sid, his expression doesn't change. It goes from the side with the exact same kind of look, pans to the front, nothing changes. I don't know if it was from a different take that they did and they deep faked his face on it, but it is honestly the weirdest thing. And now I have to apologize to everyone, because if you haven't noticed this before, whenever you see this commercial now, it's going to bother you, and his face looks so creepy.
So, like, I had seen the commercial a few times, and every single time I remember once it got to that part, it felt off. Like, I was watching it, I was like, he doesn't smile. And he's kind of like doing this weird grin, and like he just kind of is like always sort of super neutral at all times.
And then earlier on in that commercial, obviously Wayne Gretzky's in it. When you look into it more, you can tell that he's clearly done it in front of a green screen, and then he's added in. Jump to 14 seconds in the commercial if you want to see that, Pat. But the big thing online right now is that it seems like Tim Hortons deep-faked Nathan MacKinnon into their Team Canada trading cards commercial. Of all people, it's MacKinnon, which is why it's even more fun for me to share this with Pat.
I mean, it's funny because when you actually watch the commercial, it's oh god, I hate that. Ugh, I
This
hate
is
it
not
so
sponsored
much.
by Tim Hortons, by the way, for everybody. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
if you couldn't tell by me saying I hate that, but it's
it's 100% a deep fake version of him, which is they
if
clearly
not,
didn't get the take that they wanted, so they were like, well,
or like if it's not deep faked and that was the best take, maybe they should stop hiring hockey players. I mean, I get that Sid and Nate grew up together, but whew, you know, both of them seem to have the personality of a paper bag. I love Nate. I think he's great. When I watch him play his Fortnite games, even though I don't like Fortnite, he's pretty entertaining. But when he's making jokes, his face barely moves. And they have him smiling in there. Like, come on. Read the room. Know your audience. Know your actors. That's what you sign up for. You sign up for a very stone cold face. And that's who he
yeah,
is.
I had to share that one with you. It is my favorite thing I've seen online in the last week, and I am very glad that you had not caught wind of this at all.
I do not like that. I do not like that whatsoever.
So from there, we will move on from deep faked Nathan McKinnon to our games of the week. And for those keeping track at home, Pat's game of the week from last week still technically hasn't happened. It happens tonight because it's Thursday.
And
he
because
is going.
I suck.
And what game is that for Thursday, Pat?
So yeah, so that is tonight, being Thursday, and this won't be live by then. So in theory, I could be right or wrong. But that is Vegas versus Florida. So that's tonight at 7:00. So Thursday, that is Thursday, January 27th. I had to look at the date because I have no concept of time. And yeah, I think that one will be good, as I discussed last week. But I can't really say whether or not it will be. So
Who knows at this point? It could be one of the weirdest games ever. I went with the Sharks and Caps. The Sharks won that one 4-1, but it was weird. If you look at the score sheet, it's like, who? Of all 5 goals, it was like, who on earth is that player? I think Daniel Sprong got the only goal for the Capitals. Like, you couldn't have put money down on it not being one of the, like, 38 known players between those two teams getting goals, but... So there's that. I think I'd call that my first like big whiff of a game of the week so far, but it's gonna happen.
I mean, yeah, we're not really like analysts. We're just going with our gut.
What game do we think is going to be fun? And we've got kind of a bit more of a limited roster to pick from for the coming week because as of Wednesday night, that'll be the final set of games until Monday, February 7th, because there's the All-Star break and then the All-Star game, and then hockey kicks back into overdrive. I'm going to go with a game on Sunday. So this is January 30th, and that is the Dallas Stars hosting the Boston Bruins. Now, Boston's been on a bit of a tear lately. So has Dallas. Dallas kind of needs to win games because they're sitting out of the wild card currently. Boston, they're just trying to keep themselves in that kind of cushion because I don't know if they're going to catch the top 3 of the Atlantic unless things get really bad. It could be fun. You've got Dallas who's looking to trade Klingberg, and the rest of their team is just playing lights out around him. You've got Holtby who's having his magical return to like playing great year. He's probably going to get traded, but if you're looking for a Sunday night game, Stars Bruins 7 p.m. As a fan of hockey, if you have access to it, don't watch the Bruins feed.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong there. And one thing I also wanted to point out, you said that Holtby was having a resurgence. Rask is struggling to find his footing again, so that's an interesting pairing there. And not to mention, Dallas and Boston right now are pretty damn neck and neck. They're very, very close when it comes to the last 25 games, when it comes to what they've been doing. Dallas has 16 wins, Boston has 15 wins. So it's a pretty tight race there. Now for my game of the week, I am going to Tuesday. Now Tuesday, if you look at the schedule, it's got a hell of a lineup. There's only 2 games that may not be that great, but will still at least be a blowout. At least they should be a blowout. Like one of them is Vegas versus Buffalo. Like that'll be murder on ice.
There's going to be at least 3 blowouts if I'm looking at it there, because you've also got the Devils playing. They're going to get blown out.
They got Devils Toronto, but you never know, because that is going to actually, like, that almost became my game of the week, because the Devils have so much heart, and I want to see the Leafs go up 3-1, lose that lead, and watch them lose to the Devils, because they have the heart to finish a game, whereas the Leafs tend to struggle a bit.
And I know this isn't your game of the week, but to make the where this is also fun is that's a home and home for the Devils and Leafs, because they play each other Toronto on Monday, and then they both fly to Jersey and play on Tuesday, and I feel like those are so incredibly rare, and I love home and homes on back-to-back nights, because the second game is always just stupid. But game of the week for Pat.
My game of the week, I gotta go to Tuesday, 7 p.m., Washington at Pittsburgh. You have the matchup of Ovi versus Crosby. I don't particularly care about that drama anymore. That is well played out. What I care about is how both of them are in very different situations. You've got Washington that's sitting about 500 hockey right now, and you've got Pittsburgh that is absolutely killing it. 20 wins in their last 25 games. The matchup is technically not really doing well, and it means a lot for Pittsburgh to beat them in this. This will be something that is a deciding factor, in my opinion, for Washington. Washington's on a bit of a slide. If they can't win this game, I think that slide goes further. So I think it's less about the actual matchup and more about the results. And that's why I think it's my game of the week this week, because I think it holds a lot of weight for Washington if they lose. And then another just side note, keep an eye on Colorado. They've got that 17-game win streak that they're going for. Their next 3 games, you've got Chicago, I believe it's Buffalo, and then Arizona. 20, I believe, is the 20 games, I think, is the record for most home wins. And they're set up for some, at least tying it. It looks like they might have some success with that. But, you know, momentum only carries you so far, and they might be out of their one of their top players. So we'll see on that one.
Sunday is their next home game because they play Chicago in Chicago.
Right.
So you've got Buffalo on Sunday, but knowing the hockey gods, that'll be the game where they have to come back from a crazy deficit. And then they also host, the Coyotes at home on Tuesday. So that, as you said, that's a fun one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so that's more about records and history and everything like that. So the games themselves, I mean, they should be blowouts. Fingers crossed they are, because if not, but even still, absolutely tune into Washington Pens and really kind of see what happens after. Keep an eye on Washington after this game. If they win it, see if they keep the momentum. If they lose it, and see if that slide continues.
And not to kind of end the show on a bit of a down note here, because we're going to wrap things up. This one got announced just over an hour ago. I meant to bring it up, but forgot to say it at the time. The Vancouver Canucks released a statement because their former player, Jake Virtanen, has officially been charged with sexual assault following a Vancouver police investigation. So that's been ongoing for a long time. It is now, he is formally been charged, so that's the whole thing. We won't get into that. That was announced a little bit about an hour ago. So not to end things on a down note, but want to get that one out there because it is a big story.
Yeah, and that one will most likely, when we record next, we'll have a lot more information most likely on that, and we'll take some time to run through what that's looking like and what happened. So that is a poopy place to stop.
Well, want to thank everybody if you've made it this far into the episode for joining us. You can find Pat on Twitter at ThatPatL, myself at It's Woodrow, our socials everywhere. Ice Prep Podcast. We're starting to post actually some more interesting things throughout the week. We're trying to branch out and do a bit more on social, so keep an eye out there for that. And there's the potential in the future, we'll see, about also having a video version of this.
I got a new fancy webcam, and I got to use it for more than just you looking at my face.
So we've got a few things down the line, which is kind of nice to be able to say. So once again, big thanks for tuning in. We will be back next week as we've got the All-Star break will be happening during that time. I think we'll still do an episode for there. Might do kind of a bit of a special edition one. We'll see. Anything you want to add, Pat, before we sign off?
Just watch some Avalanche hockey if you haven't already. You really should. They're good games. I know they start at 10 o'clock, but seriously, watch them. The crowd, the energy, the everything. When that goal went in last night with Cale Makar, that noise in that building was electric. Watch some games. That's one of the best teams in the NHL, if not the best team in the NHL, and they have some of the most charismatic players on the ice. Watch them.
Woo! You know what's sad that we didn't get to?
What?
The fact that the Coyotes might be using a 5,000 seat arena.
Oh, we didn't.
Oh, man. That is, like...
I've gone to concerts at, like, dive bars with bigger attendance than what the...
I'm pretty sure isn't that, like, the RBC Theater amount at Bud Gardens? Like...
That's oh my God. 5,000 seats.
That's like half of a London Knights sellout.
There have been weddings with more people attending to that than 5,000 seats. Come on.